Robin, welcome.
Hey, thanks. It's my first meeting.
Yeah, so we'll make sure we do some introductions. We have a few first meetings today. And just for anyone viewing, we're stalling for a minute while we wait to establish a quorum of the board. And so we'll give that a couple of minutes, and either way, we'll do some introductions and celebration. How's that sound? And here comes a quorum. Welcome, Carolina. I'm still going to give it another few seconds just to see if we get more members here. I know that they will come while we do introductions too. So.
Good morning.
Good morning, Carolina.
I'm having issues with my camera.
Okay.
So.
We can hear you well. My internet's struggling too, so if my camera goes off, you'll know why, everyone. And then Greg will be ready to back me up if I need it. Okay.
For sure.
And here's Jill. That's wonderful. We're just kind of stalling a minute, Jill, because we didn't have a quorum, and then two of you popped in. So we have one now, +1. And here's Randy. So once Randy's stable, I'll go ahead and start the meeting.
So I don't know what happened, but the calendar had a link to team meetings.
Okay. Well,
No,
that might. I was like, is there a power outage or a storm?
No, the calendar somehow had the wrong thing.
Okay.
So then I'm going back scrambling, trying to find the emails and.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I think we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll call to order the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency meeting for February 9th, 2022. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see your faces. This is an exciting day in ORCAA history as we hand off the torch between executive directors. And it's sort of a exciting and a little bit sad, but really fun moment for us as an organization. And it's unfortunate that we're on Zoom today, but we'll do our best to make it great. And hopefully someday soon we can all get together for lunch or something, or coffee at least, to celebrate Fran, because I know she's going to continue to be a South Sound regular. So with that, I just want to see, let's go ahead and do introductions, because we have a few, and a couple of new folks, a couple of folks that haven't been around for a minute. And so if we can do introductions, make sure you say what jurisdiction you're on and why clean air excites you. So I'm Jim Cooper, and I'm from the Olympia City Council, and I am excited by clean air because it's the thing that helps us live longer and have a quality of life that makes our communities desirable. So I'm going to go to Greg.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Greg Brotherton, Jefferson County Commissioner and newly elected Vice Chair of this group. So I'm happy to be here. I'll go inside with clean air, something that I've broached before, but I think in this kind of later stages of the pandemic, it's really important, and it's not really our mission. But I'd love to consider indoor air too, because clean indoor air would make those masks that people are so tired of wearing less important. So I'm excited about outdoor air quality, of course, as well. So, but excited for this year.
Great. Randy?
My name is Randy Netherland, Mason County Commission. I like clean air because dirty air sucks. How's that?
Right on. Carolina?
Morning, Carolina Mejia, Thurston County Commissioner, and I love clean air because it reduces the risk of premature death and other serious health effects. So
Great. Jill?
I'm Jill Warney, Grace Harbor County, and I was put on this committee, but I I like clean air, and I just want to make sure we keep a balance between the environment and jobs. So they're both important. We need to breathe clean air though. My lungs like clean air.
Makes you able to do your job.
Mhm.
That's great. Okay, I see Frank next.
Frank Wolf, Pacific County Commissioner. Since we live on the beach down here, right next to the Pacific Ocean, I'd say that to a certain extent, we manufacture clean air here locally.
Yes,
Ocean air is the best.
for sure. Okay, and I'm gonna go to our newest member, Robin, from the city of Lacey. I'll just give you a little bit of introduction and tell us about yourself if you wouldn't mind for a second.
Sure. Hi, I'm Robin. I'm from the city of Lacey. I use she, her pronouns. I was just elected this year, so this is my first ORCAA meeting. And I'm excited about environmental policy and clean air in particular because I have two kids. Lorian is turning 8 this week, and Malcolm is 5. And I want this to be a great place for them to live when they're grown. I want them to want to stay here and be able to do all the cool outdoor things that I was able to do. And clean air is super important to all kinds of things. And it's also an equity issue, right? People in low income communities and communities of color often bear the brunt of negative environmental impact. So I'm excited to serve on this board because it sounds like you all are talking about all those issues. My background is in public policy. I have a deep labor relations background for my day job, and I currently work for the state of Washington as an HR director.
Welcome, Robin. It'll be great to integrate you into the team and see where you go with this. And congratulations on your election as well. Okay, so are there any board members that I've missed? Does not appear so. So at this point, this will be the test of our new director. I'm going to hand the mantle to our new director, Jeff Johnston, and ask him to introduce the staff today and himself.
Mhm.
Hey, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Johnston. I am the new executive director of ORCAA. I started last Tuesday, February 1st. And during my director report, I'll provide a little bit more information about what I've been up to. But in terms of introducing the staff, I have Mark Gooden, the engineering lead, here in the room with me. We also have Robert Moody, the compliance manager, who's online. We've got Odell Hadley, our senior monitoring technician. She's online. Have Dan Nelson, our communications manager, is online. And Lynn Harding, the administrative services manager, is online as well. And then there's looking at the participants, looks like we have a number of other staff. I see Lauren Wybrew. I think I saw Rob there earlier. Jackie's there. So we've got a number of staff that are listening in as well. So how's that for introduction? Is that, yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. So, and we'll have the directors maybe say a little bit more about themselves when they do their reports for the new members, if they'd like. And then if Debbie or Nick, if you're at a computer, can you forward the link to Joan Kathy via email? I texted it to her, but I'm not sure what her best medium is. She's struggling with it. Okay, thank you. Okay, and then council, Jeff Free.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Myers. I'm the legal counsel for ORCAA. I'm with the law firm of Law, Lyman, Daniel, Kammer, and Bogdanovich. That's what those letters stand for. I'm excited about clean air, and Robin, this is going to sound familiar because it's very similar to your theme. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I had granddaughter. This is my 6th grandchild. Next week, I'm expecting grandchild number 7. And I want this planet to be a clean, healthy environment that they can live in, that is not decimated by climate change, and which is just a great place for them to enjoy.
Wonderful. Jeff, thank you. Okay, did we miss anyone for introductions? Okay, great. So we will go ahead then. Just want to ask for one amendment to the agenda, and then I'm fine with consensus on this. So would like to move item 1 under good of the order up into the main agenda to become. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I just wanted to suggest also adding a brief executive session, maybe 10 minutes regarding the 350 or 360 Seattle litigation. That
Okay,
we can,
and that is
we
on
can
our
actually
agenda,
do that
so-
in the executive session.
Great. So two additions, or one addition and a clarification, I guess, is that so a new item 5 would be departing comments for and from Fran McNair and consideration of resolution number 281, retirement of Francia McNair. And then, and also to clarify under item 8 that we will have a 10-minute executive session that is allowable under state law around current or pending or possible litigation. Is that an agenda that everyone is okay with? Is there any dissent or amendments?
Mr. Chair, I move forward with that agenda as presented.
Second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Any further discussion or amendment? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Thought it would be fun to do the celebrations up front. So, okay, so we're going to go to the next item, which is the chair report. And so just one or two things today. The first one is the ORCAA bylaws designate the chair will appoint the finance committee at the February meeting. And that essentially gets the committee up and running for, correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, about 3, maybe 4 meetings between now and June to work on the budget and get that to the board, and then some meeting, every other month meetings later in the year to monitor the actuals of the budget as things go along and work on bigger picture financial issues. So and then I absolutely, this is the will of the board in my opinion. So, I'm here to serve you. So I'll suggest some appointments, and then we can have a discussion if anybody else is interested or would like to change or isn't able to serve. So I would like to appoint Greg Brotherton as the chair. He volunteered himself last month in the chat, and then ask Randy Netherland to continue serving on the finance committee. And then I think for continuity with the director, I would like to serve on the finance committee, and then have Bill Peach continue as our alternate so that we have a backup who's able to attend the meetings as appropriate. So I know it might be a little odd. Typically I'm an alternate, but it just felt good for me to step in with Cynthia leaving, be a committee member for a little while this year. So open for discussion or amendment if you have anything to say. Randy, are you willing?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am willing. It's interesting. I'm listening to one of our newer board members and realizing that Jill sounds an awful lot like me. Maybe we need to ask her to come onto that board as well, because I was very, very reluctant when I came on, but watching the money helps you to understand that and keep us from going after people that shouldn't be gone after. And like maybe Jill would consider coming and joining us sometime in the future.
Well, and I could, if at that suggestion, I know Bill would be fine, swapping for alternate if that's something that you want to do, Jill.
That would be fine. Not like I need more to do, but.
No pressure. He'll do it. So, don't let Randy push you.
It would be good to have the opportunity though to get more familiar with all of this.
Okay. Any other comments?
Sounds like a good plan. I think
Okay.
adding Jill would be great and make sure, yeah, get more folks into that finance committee. I think will give us more deeper understanding of the budget. So I like Randy's idea.
And just for folks understanding, the finance committee notice comes with the board notice when we have it. So anytime you'd like to attend and be part of the discussion, you can let Debbie or Jeff know, and we just have to make sure that we don't go above a quorum. So it's okay for one or two folks to come in and out of the finance committee meeting as we work on the budget. It's a great way to really understand the details of how the funding sources are connected to our policies. So, and
Sorry, Jim,
regulations.
if one person wants to attend that's not on the finance committee, though, that makes a quorum, doesn't it?
Well, the alternate person can switch out, I think. Like, that's really what I was meaning to say, you know.
Okay.
So if someone else wants to attend, you know, the alternate's not required unless we have, you know, somebody missing. So, and then we just do our best. And sometimes we have 2 and sometimes we have 4.
Hey, Jim, just a note. So the quorum for the finance committee is 2 of the 3. And so if more people attend, I don't think that, I mean, Jeff can answer that.
Well, we can't, no, we can't have a quorum of the board there.
Of ORCAA.
Of the board, right? Okay,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Okay, so then what I see is an appointment of Greg as chair, Randy and me as the other 2 members with Jill as the alternate. Okay, Robin, did you have a question?
Do you need a motion, Mr. Chair?
Not technically, but if people want to do that, that's fine with me too. Either way, it is an appointment in the bylaws. Okay, great. So we will work through that and start bringing you some budgets in a few months. So that's exciting to be doing that with our next agenda item, which is a little bit more of a welcome of our new director. Just wanted to take a moment and say welcome on behalf of the board to Jeff Johnston. We had a wonderful search process. He has jumped in and hit the ground running, meeting with everyone and really getting to understand the ins and outs of what we do and how we do it and what, you know, some of the opportunities are moving ahead. And we all know, and even Fran has discussed with us some of the opportunities for the organization in this transition. And I think, you know, we'll thank her in a minute, but really want to give Jeff a resounding welcome from all of us and just let him know that we're here to support him and the technical stuff that we need to talk about is, you know, Jeff and I are meeting right now weekly for his first month. And then we'll go to monthly meetings so that we can stay on top of what we need to do to make sure that he feels fully engaged and incorporated into the organization. Our contract with him requires that he will bring a work plan essentially, or performance evaluation points to the board, and we will, you know, work with him on those around 90 days. And so my path for that is that Jeff and I and Greg will look at that and kind of fine tune it and then bring it to the board in probably in April that would be April or May, depending on how we're doing. I think we can be soft on the exact dates based on our meeting calendar. You know, and then we have some work to do to make sure that we meet with Jeff and make sure that we're all on the same page as we go throughout this year. And that'll involve a little bit more conversation just around the director so that we can make sure we get off on a good foot, like the organization did with Fran more than a decade ago. So, Jeff, welcome. And I'm going to turn it over to Jeff for a moment, and then any board members that want to say anything or staff, this is a great time to publicly welcome our new executive director. Jeff.
Great. Well, thank you, Jim. And thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to serve in this role. I'm really excited. It's been, as I mentioned earlier, I think this is day 7. So it has been the metaphor of the fire hose is something that's come up a few times. And I mean, I do feel like but I have really dug in, really like to thank Fran for all that she did to ensure a smooth transition. Again, we've had some overlap. We were both in the office last week, had a lot of meetings with her, also had meetings with Fran and all of the managers to get me kind of up to speed on the work going on. Particularly spent a lot of time with Lynn, getting spooled up on the budget, both kind of where things stand on the 2022 budget, but also, again, starting to put things together for the fiscal year 23 budget, which again, we'll be discussing with the Finance Committee and the rest of the board here in the coming months. So yeah, it's been great. It's as we talked about during my interview process and in past conversations, a lot of this is pretty familiar to me because of my background that I bring from my work at Ecology, but are some things that are quite new. And so again, but it's great being in learning mode again and just really being a sponge and soaking it up. And Jim, you mentioned, sort of conversations with the board. Just know that in the next week or so, I will be reaching out to each of the board members just to try to get some time on our calendar to have a conversation. I want to get to know you a little bit better. What your thoughts, your interests, your concerns, your desires for the agency. Of course, we'll be talking about that going forward at board meetings, but I'd like to just have some one-on-one conversations. Also, I'll mention that a couple weeks ago, Bill Peach reached out to me about meeting with the Clallam County Board of Health. And so I'm actually on that calendar to meet with Clallam County Board of Health in March. And so just be thinking about other board members, be thinking about what groups in your jurisdictions you think it would be helpful for me or others at ORCAA to talk about ORCAA and talk about the work that the agency does. So that, that's something that'll be interested in doing going forward. So again, it's great to be here. Great to get to know all of you, and thanks for the opportunity.
Great, welcome. Any other comments from anyone else? We'll have lots of discussion. So, Greg.
Really quickly, want to welcome you aboard, Jeff. I'm looking forward to having you, and I'll reach out to you offline to talk about having you probably at our Board of County Commissioner meeting first, and you can do that virtually. I'd love to host you in real life as well, whenever that becomes prudent, and maybe even have you out for a little breaking bread and cook some biochar or something.
Sounds good, Greg. I look forward to those discussions.
Thanks.
That's not a very tasty barbecue. Just
you cook the meat on the biochar as you're cooking the biochar.
Right on.
Jeff, this is Joan Cathy from Tumwater, and I meant to say this last time we were talking, or all excited about you. You came very highly recommended from Pete Comet, former mayor of Tumwater, and he said, if you all don't pick him, I'm going to be concerned about what's going on with that board over there. Because he said, if you're going to lose Fran, you better get somebody very good. And so he gave me the big speech and the push. And so I admire and respect him, and I'm sure I'm going to feel exactly the same way about you. So I'm glad you're here.
Great. Well, thank you, Joan. Yeah, I worked my overlap. So immediately before ORCAA, I was in the toxics cleanup program at Ecology, where Pete had worked for many years. He was one of the architects, as a lot of folks probably know, of the Metal Toxics Control Act. And so he was in this, we overlapped about a year before he retired from Ecology, but he was our senior engineer in the section, the information and policy section that I managed in the toxics cleanup program. So yeah, it was my privilege to work closely with Pete for a while.
Yeah, well, you worked with him long enough to greatly impress him, and he's not always easy to impress. So very good.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Well, lots more to come on that conversation. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
So our next item is public comment. I don't have anyone signed up, and I'm just looking, anyone on the telephone or that we should be looking for to speak, Nick? Nope. Okay, great. Easy communication with Zoom. Thank you. So then that takes us to our changed item on the agenda, which is departing comments for and from Fran McNair and consideration of resolution number 281, retirement of Fran McNair. And so what I'd like to do is read the resolution because it wasn't in the packet and it came out this morning. And then we'll have some comments from the board or staff. And then, well, actually, right after the resolution, we'll have a presentation that Dan will help me with. We'll have some comments from board and staff, and then we can open up to Fran to tell us goodbye or tell us see you later, which is what I prefer to say. So, okay, so let me go to, is that path okay with everyone? Okay. Okay, so we have Olympic Region Clean Air Agency Resolution number 281, retirement of Executive Director Francia McNair. Whereas Francia McNair has served Executive Director of Olympic Region Clean Air Agency since March 2009, and whereas Francia McNair will retire from Olympic Region Clean Air Agency on May 1st, 2022, and whereas Francia McNair has been an invaluable leader at Olympic Region Clean Air Agency and to the management of the employees, leading in fulfilling and encouraging public education of Olympic Region Clean Air Agency's mission, and whereas over a nearly 13-year career with Olympic Region Clean Air Agency, Francia McNair distinguished herself with her deep knowledge and abilities related to local government matters, and the expertise and leadership developed during that career has been invaluable to Olympic Region Clean Air Agency during her tenure. And whereas the members of the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency Board of Directors wish to thank Francia McNair for her leadership of the agency and her work with the board by making a dedication to her service as she retires. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency Board of Directors hereby expresses its gratitude to Francia McNair for her service, for her sound advice and valued knowledge, and for all she has contributed to Olympic Region Clean Air Agency and its jurisdiction, and would like to dedicate the staff picnic area in her honor. Further be it resolved, the Board of Directors wish Francia McNair a blissful retirement and express our hope for her continued health, happiness, and prosperity. And this is signed by the board and dated today. And so would like to ask for a motion to approve Resolution 281.
I'll move that we approve Resolution 281.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
You know,
For people who don't know, it might be good for you to explain what area we're dedicating and.
We will do that after we adopt.
Oh, after we adopt.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll go there right next, Joan.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll comment. You know, I was thinking real hard about what comments I would give, and it's as though when you read it, you just took all of them out of my mind. You did it all, so I must have been thinking pretty square on that one.
Well, and I'll thank Debbie and staff team and Dan for helping with the writing. So I won't claim any credit for that, but it was beautiful. Thank you, Randy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. So what do we have? So Dan's going to help me with this, but first I'll say that in my background is Fran's dog, Watson. And this the dogs have a lot to do with Fran's service at ORCAA, and a lot to do with some of the office culture and definitely her own health and mental health as she served for the Clean Air Agency as a dog owner. I know that to be very true. And so present to you, if you will, is the dedication of what will be a renewed staff picnic area in the backyard. And with that, we have planted, or the staff actually have taken care of planting a dogwood tree in your name. And so, Dan, can you help us see that?
Yes, let me.
And while he's bringing that up, you know, in the spring when it's a little nicer, the picnic table will come out and it will get cleaned up, and we'll make sure we send you some pictures, or maybe just have you over for lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not letting me share my screen.
Nick, can you give that power? There we go. So with a little baby tree with a lot of life to give. Dan, do you have the zoom in to flip to?
Yeah, let me, I've got issues here. I'm locked up. I don't know if you can even hear me now.
We hear you. Essentially, it says that the tree is dedicated to Fran and her service as the executive
You can
director.
see that now.
There we go.
So
So you
this
see this-
picnic area is actually in the back corner of our lot. And for most of our time here, we've had a picnic table and just an outdoor break area back here. And the picnic table rotted away a few years ago. We do have a picnic table we'll place out in the spring and secure to a concrete block in the ground. But this is a flowering dogwood. It'll grow to 15 feet tall, beautiful pink blooms on it in the spring, and provide a nice break area and outdoor meeting space for staff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Dan and Debbie and the staff team for helping pull that together. It's a great treat to preserve her legacy at the organization for a long time to come. And you know, thankfully, having a bunch of adviros mean they'll take care of it and they'll water it and really make it prosper. So that's cool. So would like to oh, one other thing that you know, so Fran also should have received a kudo board today, or will, which has some comments from folks in the communities and board members and staff members to go along with all of this celebration today electronically. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and open it up to board members for any you know, farewell comments to our outgoing executive director.
Fran, you know, it's always been a pleasure to work with you, and we'll miss the wisdom that you brought to this role and your personality. So I really do appreciate the work, and you know, I feel like I've been on this board as long as I've been on any board, you know, in public government, and the onboarding and the competence of the staff is just it speaks to your qualities as well. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'll jump in, Fran. Again, I very much appreciate you. I said all that stuff the last time, so I'm kind of, in a sense, repeating myself. But the thing that I've learned about you, as I said before, was competence. You're extremely competent. I enjoyed working with you. And to me, calling somebody competent is one of the highest honors I can give somebody in a world where I'm searching for it everywhere, but don't find it very often. With that being said, I got to tell you that I laughed when Jill was speaking, because I literally see myself a while back. But the one thing that you showed me with the years of working with you is you were definitely not out there trying to get anybody or hurt any of the businesses. As a matter of fact, when we had some of the biggest issues that came up, one recently with the largest fine they ever had, even they admitted you tried everything to get it all done before we ever got there. And that's what I would hope from any government entity, that they would do everything they can first before ever going after a company or jobs or anything like that. And I found you to be the opposite of everything I thought it was going to be when I started, which again is a very, very high compliment. This whole group is wonderful to work with, and none of them seem to be out to get anybody. But leadership has been spectacular. But I'm also very well aware of your leadership when it comes to the state and your testimonies and stuff. Very few understand how powerful you've been for our region when it comes to your effect in Olympia, and I do, and I just want to thank you. So happy retirement to you. Have a little bit of fun, and just don't quit doing stuff. Still stay in there. I have that big fear of people that quit don't last long. So don't quit. Just do something else.
Thank you. I don't plan on quitting.
I'll jump in. Thank you, Fran, for everything. You've been amazing so far, and I hope your retirement is as amazing. And definitely the laws of inertia, a body in motion stays in motion. You're probably not one to sit still anyway, so that's good.
Thank you. Yes.
Hope you have a long, healthy, happy retirement.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I can jump in. Fran, it's honestly been a pleasure to work with you this past year. I've learned so much from you, and it was clear how dedicated and passionate you were about ORCAA. And I always appreciate that, seeing that in a leader, especially as they're, you know, giving us all the information, and just how much of an advocate you are for ORCAA and all the issues within. So I appreciated learning from you so much. I wish you just the best of luck in your retirement and your next chapter and next adventure, really. So again, thank you. You're going to be very missed.
Thank you.
Joan,
Well,
you're unmuted.
And I could say amen to everything that everyone has said. I believe in you as a person, and you are extremely competent. And I also find that you are also, to go along with the way Randy was talking, you are also kind. And I appreciate that, especially with someone like you, dealt with lots of people. And I know that you were highly respected at the state level, and that made me proud to hear those things and go, oh yeah, I'm on that board. I know her. So you passed on your glory. That's good to all of us. And the other thing was, it was just fun to connect with you again, to know that the connection that we have through your husband, my partner. And so I wanted to say that since both of them started an entire ER department and are so proud of themselves still to this day, I'm hoping that when it's time to be out and about and have a meal together or something, the four of us can do that and celebrate everybody's retirement. So
I actually mentioned that to my husband because he has high respect for Shelley too. And so, yeah, I've already mentioned that to him.
good. So it's on one of your lists.
Yes.
To do after now that you're retired. Good. Thanks, Fran. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, I want to just echo, and like Randy, I said some things last month, but thank you, Fran, for everything. I've actually, like Greg, it's been this was pretty much the first government board I sat down at, other than the city council a decade ago. I was pretty green, and you mentored me into what we were doing. Kind of a know-it-all attitude that got tempered into the reality of what we do and how we do it. And it's been a great adventure with you. And I have so much respect for you and your ability to put mission before money. Get the mission down and get the regulations down, and then figure out what the right way to fund it is. And to Randy's point, your how can we get to a yes attitude, which is not a common trait in executive leaders in government. Just to be totally frank, it is a rare gem, and leading with that personality trait is what makes ORCAA successful. And you know, in 10 years, I think one of my biggest learnings is that when in order to be a successful elected official, you have to have successful staff that know their job, have good leadership, and can lead. And I think that's what we've created here. This is not a top-down structure. It's really well organized, and probably the most flat org chart, operationally anyway, that I've experienced, and that's because of your leadership. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else want to make any comments before I turn it over to Fran? And that's anyone, Jeff or staff. Jeff.
Yeah, I just want to say, Fran, it's been a decade since I became the counsel for ORCAA, and I was immediately impressed with a lot of things, but I noticed, first of all, the attention to detail, and the ability to handle complex problems like budgets, like compliance issues, and that was always weighed with the goal of trying to promote public health as our overall goal through voluntary compliance. A lot of enforcement matters, agencies, Jim is absolutely right. It is not a common attitude to want to educate first, and people want to go in with the stick rather than the carrot. And you always had a very good balance of that. And then as the years went on, we got to one of the biggest public health challenges of any of our lifetime in dealing with the pandemic. And it just really impressed me what a champion you were for your staff, trying to protect them, and as well as protect public health. You really have a passion for protecting public health, and that has come through in virtually everything that we've done together. And I just want to say I really appreciate working with you, your openness to listen to my legal advice, crazy as it might be at times, but I just want to say it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Randy, come back around.
Yeah, one last little thing. Jeff, are you listening?
Sorry, I see him rapidly taking notes and nodding.
Yes, so hopefully you did. I am indeed taking notes. So yeah, this has been great to hear. And I mentioned earlier, but let me just say, since I'm talking now, let me just thank Fran again. Fran, you've worked really hard to ensure a smooth transition, making making yourself available to me last week and this week, and next week to reach out as I need. So again, really appreciate all that you've done. And as we've all been hearing, you're leaving very big shoes to fill. And so I'll do my best. But I'm excited about being here. And again, thank you for all that you've done over the past 13 years in stewarding ORCAA, to all of the successes that ORCAA has had in working in developing a great staff. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Fran, take it away.
Okay, this is hard for me. The board has been fantastic to work with. I mean, you've always been so open, and this is, I've worked with city councils and county councils, no county commissions because in Pierce we have a county council, but I've worked with so many different elected officials, and the interest and your ability to show leadership as a board and support me and the staff has been amazing. And I can't thank you enough, but I also can't take the credit. My staff, now Jeff's staff, and Jeff is a fantastic person to step into my shoes, and he will fill them and more so. But the ORCAA staff, you have an amazing group of people working with and for you. They clearly have the goal of, as you say, education first, trying to get, we want to protect air quality and we want to improve air quality and protect public health. And they want to do it by, doing good things with the communities. Just a little example, we had a homeless gentleman, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and, he was getting his mail at a bookstore in town. And thank you for that bookstore to be able to take his mail. But instead of issuing a violation, and he got a violation, but then instead of issuing a penalty, staff went and worked with the bookstore. So they would advertise, and they were so sweet to do that. And this homeless gentleman took information out to the homeless community to try to change behaviors, to try to talk to people about the fact that you can't burn and what, to try to do it in terms that was beneficial and helpful to people out in the community. So staff are doing that. They go into very difficult situations. My heart often goes out to compliance because, they're issuing the notices of violation. And when they can be out there and they can educate and they can do a presentation and get a thank you is so important. And that's why, and I know Jeff will carry this on, whenever there's positive information that comes in from the community about staff, it's important that you hear that. You have, 16 people, including the director, that work on behalf of we have the largest region in the States, 8,000 square miles. It's very different, as you all know from your different counties, how diverse a community it is. Oh, and here Watson just walked in. The real Watson just walked in. And it takes a special group of people to be able to work across, boundary lines. And that's the other thing that's been so amazing. So right now there are 4 representatives from Thurston County, which is the urban county, but you all have worked so hard to look at the issues that impact the other 5 counties, and you've done a phenomenal job. So I can't thank you enough for that kind of support and that willingness to really look at the region as a whole, because it is very different. New things are coming down. I mentioned to staff yesterday that there's, again, there's a new CR because, federal government was going to close on February 18th, but it's now extended to March 11th. There's more money. The president wants to put more money into monitoring and air quality for local governments. We're hoping that if they ever can pass a new budget, that'll all be there. And your staff will do a phenomenal job putting that into place. You have well-educated, staff who are really just doing the very best that they can for the community. Lynn, who's the finance person, does HR. She's an amazing individual in terms of bringing you a budget every year. And I know she'll work with Jeff that is balanced. In only a few times out of the last 12 or 13 years have we actually had to take money out of the reserves. We mostly put money in, but it's because she's got a good sense of the community. Jackie, who sits at the front desk, she's the gatekeeper. You couldn't live without Jackie, and I always tell her to keep her New York going. I'm a New Yorker. She's a New Yorker. Got to have kindness, but also a New Yorker. Debbie, I could go through all the staff. Debbie does so much as the person who basically is the front person when it comes to paying the registration, and oftentimes deals with people when they have questions and concerns. The calls go to her. All of the compliance staff, all of the engineering staff, they are they're amazing individuals. They're highly intelligent, highly motivated, and again, they have ORCAA's best interest. So it's Jeff sits there and I sat there, and we take, we're very lucky, but we wouldn't be as successful if we didn't have the staff that we have supporting us. So he's a great person to step in. I know he's going to do a great job. We did work last week. I will be there for him. And I've told him even after next week, I've given him my personal phone and my personal email. If he has questions, he's free to contact me. Now he's going to have to contact me in Mexico on the 22nd, but I do have with our T-Mobile, I have email in Mexico. And there have been times when we've been in Mexico and I've talked to Debbie on the telephone, or issues come up. That's one of the issues for me is I do never stop working. I enjoy working. And just to sort of give you a sense of my future, my daughter-in-law, one of my daughter-in-laws, who works for a nonprofit in Seattle, works with young men and women, or men and women who have children who want to go back and get a higher education. They have to be a high school grad, but that's it. And they helped defray the cost. She's the person that raises the money. And it's called Goodwin Connections, and it was from the Goodwin family that started the Pikes Place Market. But they make sure that children are in the right situation for daycare, so they have growth and development while their parents are going back to school. In addition to paying for that or defraying a great deal of the cost for that, they also provide mentors. And so I will be a mentor and my daughter-in-law's organization for people that are in government, public administration, et cetera. And there are a lot of folks that are in the South Sound. So, if I meet them or do it virtually. So yes, that's one of the things that's on my list. So, and the other thing, I have one son who lives locally in Burien. And so we've also said that, grandma and grandpa are here, and we want to be able to help out where we can. And we want to do some traveling. Our other son lives in Baltimore, Maryland. And when our granddaughter, who's 3, gets vaccinated, and she'll be the first on the list at Johns Hopkins to get vaccinated because her mom is a doc there. So she's going to be the first on the list when it's available. We want to travel. And so as long as Watson, who's sitting behind Jim, stays healthy, we will travel. He has a nanny that moves into our house when we go away so that we never will kennel him. So, our fur baby is very important to us, but, family is important. And ORCAA I still consider ORCAA my family. And you are very, very lucky as a board to have a dedicated staff that you do. Jeff and Myers and Mike Throgmorton are phenomenal attorneys, and they've just done a great job for us. Mike's not on the call today, but he's always Johnny on the spot. I had an email from him last night about a case, and so again, I can't thank you all enough for your support over the years. Making the decision to retire was difficult, but as Joan indicated, my husband is an ER doc and he's retired. And so it's time that we go into a new phase in our lives. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your kind comments. And again, I'm leaving you in excellent hands. I promise you that. So thank you.
Thank you, Fran. You'll always be a part of the ORCAA family. And, once you get in your traveling groove, give us a shout, because it sounds like maybe you'll be prime as an advocacy volunteer in the future, particularly. So we really appreciate you, and please stay in touch. And we want to make sure that we continue to have a relationship with our former leaders. So thank you. All right, let's move to the remaining business of the day. This is a time check. So we have a little over an hour left in our schedule. We should be good, but just want to remind the leadership team as we move through the reports, we need to save 10 minutes for that executive session. Let me go to Robin.
Apologies, Mr. Chair. I have a conflict. I'll have to step away, but I may be able to rejoin. It should be only a half an hour, but I'll have to hop off at 11. I should be able to come back at 11:30.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. And we have a quorum, so no worries if you don't make it, but you're more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I have the next item is the consent calendar. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any questions, comments, or polls? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So that takes us to our director's reports, and we're gonna start with Robert in compliance.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And some of this, Robin, I'll give you a general introduction so you're familiar with what we're talking about here. Tab B3 is the compliance report that's in your packet there. 12 pages of what the compliance section of ORCAA has been up to the last month. In there, you see the inspections we've been on, permits, notifications for asbestos, demolition, land clearing, burns, the complaints that we get. So all that's kind of summarized in there as a presentation for the board there. Usually, while I chat about things and people just scroll through it to see what's new and exciting. And quite honestly, it looks basically the same every month. The news that I have to share with the board here, this is kind of our training time of year. It's some of the slowest time we have. So we've got the compliance staff and most of the engineers have done their HAZWOPER training, which makes them safer in the field, we hope anyhow. And our newest inspector, Rob Weiland, just finished up his asbestos certification. So we have then also thrown him a case to deal with. So with the good comes the bad. And as we mentioned last month, board approved the regulation changes to all the ORCA regulations. That was filed with the code revisor. Excuse me, and all those changes will now be effective February 26th. So doesn't have a big impact on your activities, I realize, but for us, this was a pretty big undertaking, and getting it pulled off as quickly as we did was pretty good. So that is what I have for you. Let's see. Oh, because Jim asked at the beginning why we do what we do. I'll just throw in my 2 cents worth, and mine's a little bit self-centered because I really like being up in the mountains, the hills, rivers, oceans, and having clear, crystal clear skies to see the landscapes. So that's my motivation. Not all of it, but part of it. So, are there any questions of me?
Questions for Robert? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Cheers to landscapes. Okay, we're going to go to Mark for an engineering report. You guys are muted, Jeff, just so you.
Yeah, one sure. Yeah. Okay, good morning. My name is Mark Gooden. I'm the lead engineer here for ORCAA, and welcome new board members. I too will give an overview of what the engineers and the permitting section does here at ORCAA. Basically, we handle any permits that are required for new sources of air pollution, and that could range from a new gas station all the way up to a new biomass boiler. And we pretty much have the full spectrum of those sorts of air pollution sources in our jurisdiction here. And so I'll direct you to tab 4B, which is the list of the permit applications that are in-house right now. And it's a blue and gray and white list, table of sources. And you could see everything that's in-house right now, everything above the bold line those are the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 applications that have become final and we've approved. And so they're out the door. Those, once approval is obtained, then the company can build whatever it is they're proposing to build, be it a boiler or an expansion at their facility. Part of getting to that point of being able to say approve, we approve, the agency approved, is going through all the myriad of local, state, and federal air regulations that apply. And there's specific regulations that apply to each type of an emissions unit. Different ones for incinerators. Boilers have unique regulations. Emergency engines have their own unique regulations. And so in addition, part of what we do is we'll process the permit application and come out with a report that summarizes everything that's applicable. And then we will also issue the permit itself, which contains the conditions of approval. So that's basically what we do. And on this list here, like I said, you could see the 4 that became final since the last board meeting, and a very long list of permit applications that are in the bin right now that we are processing. So if you see any of those that pique your interest, you could contact Jeff or contact myself directly, and we could get you information and details. What we do is a public process as well. So we do have information posted on that Dan posts on our websites to get more details. So go through that list and let Jeff or myself know if you have any questions. And one other category of work that we do here for ORCAA is we work with the very largest of our sources in our jurisdiction. We call them major sources. And we have 11 major sources throughout our jurisdiction. And these are sources that emit greater than 100 tons per year of any particular pollutant. So we issue operating permits. Those are 5-year renewable permits. They get reissued every 5 years to these sources. And they're also tracked in this list in tab D4. So if you have any questions regarding a major source in our jurisdiction, please let me know. And it's those permits, those air operating permits, are something that we have posted on our website. You could take a look at the permit itself and the technical support document to kind of get a feel for the breadth of things that we review and what ends up in a permit. So I'll leave it at that.
Great. Questions for Mark? I see Fran has her hand up.
So I just, let me lower it. So you know, as I was going through and talking about staff, there were 3 areas that I neglected to talk about, which I just want to say thank you to those folks. So, you know, Odell, Dr. Hadley does an amazing job with our monitoring, and we have, you know, Chica Peak as well as, you know, monitors in all the region, and she's going to go do her report. And so you'll see for new people, and again, it's just sort of one new person, the breadth and depth of what she does. Dan is our, you know, is the public information officer, the public information manager, and you know, he's just done an amazing job with the website and getting information out there. And Nick, who's leaving, and I'm sure Jeff's going to talk about that too. But our IT system, you know, in the virtual world that we've all had to go into in the last 2 years, without having a really good IT system, this would not be possible. And to be able to have staff work effectively remotely is just amazing. So I didn't want to leave those areas out. You know, and Robert and Mark and his, you know, are you know, compliance and engineering, but their staff are critical components. I'm not going to name all the staff, but I didn't want to leave out those 3 areas. So again, thank you to those folks too. Again, you just guys have a phenomenal group of folks that work with you and for you. So, okay, I just need to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran, and I'll keep it quick here, Jim, but I'd also like to say that, you know, I feel in the last 13 years, the agency has really made huge improvements, and that can be attributed to Fran's leadership here, because we're not always, we're very passionate in what we do. We're individuals. And I think she brought us together as a team to function better as a team. And so I think we've made a lot of strides. So Fran, thank you. You're going to be missed.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions on engineering? Okay, that will take us to the air quality update from Odell. You might be muted, Odell, if you're talking.
I was muted, but once I started sharing, my unmute button disappeared. And so I was, so my apologies for that.
No worries.
Okay. All right, so can everyone see that and hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to try to keep this brief, even though it's a longer than usual summary, because I have also done the 2021 air quality summary from last year, which I like to do at the end of the year to just kind of put everything into context and perspective. So I'll start with that. There we go. So the 2021 air quality summary, this kind of looks like the page that I show you for the monthly, but I've included, you know, our percent of data collected, and last year was really a great year. 90% or higher data collected at all of our sites, so that is awesome. And then mostly we saw, you know, over 95% good air quality at all of our sites. So you can see over here the days that we had some moderate and some unhealthy for sensitive groups. at Chesapeake, Port Angeles, and Port Townsend. We did see some USG, and that was from wildfire smoke. So out of our control. This I like to show. Washington State has an air quality goal. It's a design value where 98% of the days, the 24-hour averages, we have less than 20.4 micrograms per meter cubed. And under ORCAA, that's the division between moderate and unhealthy for sensitive groups. Just a reminder, that's going to go away, I think, next month when we switch back to AQI to be consistent with the rest of the country and the state. And that's a statewide decision, not just ORCAA. So in 2020, you can see that with the wildfire days included, we did not meet that air quality goal at any of our sites. But without, we were on target. And then last year in 2021, we didn't see the same wildfire smoke impacts that we saw in previous years. And so, yeah, again, we're meeting all of our targets for last year, which is great. So historically, PM 2.5 is a winter problem. That has always been our understanding and where we've pushed our efforts. And that's because cold temperatures and persistent stagnation events will increase the use of wood burning devices. And then that smoke doesn't go anywhere because of the stagnation event. During the last 5 years, we've seen a seasonality switch in our highest levels of PM 2.5. So that now we have these summer maximums that could possibly trigger FRM requirements. FRM is a federal reference method for monitoring, and we don't have those. They're exceptionally expensive and a lot more man hours to run. But if we were to exceed the National Ambient Air Quality Standard, we would have to install those. But we can get away with that because these wildfire events can be filed as an exceptional event, and then you calculate it without them. And we don't need to worry about that, but it doesn't change the public exposure. So it is something we still like to look at and just see what's happening. So I'm just going to give you an example of two of our sites because they all look pretty similar. But what I've done here is the design value as defined by EPA is a 3-year average of the 98th percentile. So basically of each year you take the 7th or 8th highest value, and then you take that value and average it over 3 years. And that gives you a 3-year average of the 98th percentile. So that's what I've done here for the year, which is the gray line. And the blue line is the winter 98th percentile. And the red line is the summer 98th percentile highest value. And so what you can see here is that from 2009 until 2016, it is essentially flat in the summer at around 10 micrograms per meter cubed. And the blue line here was, flat around 20, which is the state goal. And then you can also see that the blue line was really driving the annual, the winter values were really driving that annual design value. And then in 2017, you see this shift, this change. And so for the past 5 years, these summer values have been the higher ones and certainly having a strong impact on our annual design values. So that's Port Angeles, and then here's Lacey, and it looks very similar. One thing I will point out is that if you look at just the winter design values, you do see about a change of 1 microgram per meter cubed over the last 13 years, which is great. Potentially, if I divided this up into 2 segments, you'd see a flat line and then even a steeper increase over the most recent years. So our winter values are definitely coming down, but then our summer values are going up, and it's kind of having a net zero impact on the annual design value. So that is the trend of what we're seeing. In 2021, the reason this is interesting to me is because Western Washington doesn't really see really smoky wildfires in our region. And so most of the smoke is being imported in from all other areas of the state and states south of us and provinces north of us. And we are very lucky if you compare our region with the rest of the state. These are just 2021 values. And if you look at all Western Washington, you can see that despite it being a horrific wildfire season, we got real lucky last summer. And it was what I referred to as our bubble of protection. That basically the smoke was either way overhead where it wasn't impacting us, or it was flowing south of us or north of us. And so we got pretty lucky with that. And then last thing I just want to remind everyone is that it's not just wildfire smoke that's causing or can cause the summer PM 2.5 to increase. So last year, Lacey, Shelton, and Raymond monitors recorded the worst air quality of the year on June 28th, which was the day that I think we hit 113 degrees. So really hot weather can also cause what secondary organic aerosol formation or biogenic aerosol formation. And in fact, this accounted for the worst air quality day of the entire year that we saw in those 3 sites. And it was the second worst air quality day of the year in Aberdeen and Port Townsend. And in Port Angeles and Chesapeake, it was the third. The 2 worst days in those 2 sites were from wildfire smoke that drifted down from British Columbia, but didn't impact the rest of our sites. So just something to be aware of as we move forward into the future and keep an eye on sources and what could be impacting our air quality. So let me move to now just the January air quality summary. You see for January, this is a reflection of our great improvements in air quality in the winter, where we only saw a few moderate days and no unhealthy for sensitive groups, despite the fact that we did have an air stagnation advisory issued by National Weather Service that lasted most of a week. So in past years, that would have definitely led to unhealthy for sensitive groups or even unhealthy air days, and we just didn't see that this time. So that is good news for us. And other monitoring news, the Grace Harbor saturation study, still making progress, but very slow progress on getting 2 additional purple air sensors installed. So we've chosen a place out at Central Park Elementary, but we needed an additional power outlet put in. And they're working with us, but I think I've come up with a second solution. So if we can't get the power that we need, I've just purchased a little solar panel. So we may be able to power our purple airs, and I'll be working with that in the lab to make sure that it works and it has long-term, it's robust in the long term. But if I can get that working, then we will not be limited by a power outlet at any of our locations, and it will really free up places where we want to install those purple air sensors. So hopefully that will speed things up if I can get that working. Chesapeake, same old monthly site visit, quarterly Met QC, validating wind data. We had a big mix up with our wind data, but it all turned out good. Working with Ecology and the company that validates our wind sensors was a bit of a headache for a couple weeks there. And then last week I did a presentation at the Northwest AirQuest meeting. So it was mostly on those lines. It was an expanded presentation on what I just showed you about the seasonality of our peak PM 2.5. So just a little bit more there if anyone's interested. And then we also, as I mentioned, had the first air stagnation calls of the year or the winter season with National Weather Service. So that has kind of been what's going on in my world. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Questions for Odell. I love solar monitoring stations. That is cool. Next level for us. Okay, let's move to finance administrative update from Lynn. Thank you, Odell.
Good morning, all. Did we want to we missed Dan in education and outreach.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I'll go back, Lynn. Let's do it in order. Let's go to education and outreach from Dan. Sorry, Dan.
That's okay. I figured you saw me have a problem with Zoom earlier and didn't bypass me. So, and on the solar, I've actually I demoed some solar on the PM monitor or the purple air monitor I have at my house, and I have a personal ambient weather monitor I set up that's all solar powered. So that's been running for almost 2 years, year and a half, and the purple air on solar ran for about 14 months until the battery backup unit I had that the solar was charging, that failed. So, but the system works great. So hopefully that'll work out for Odell in the field. As far as communication and outreach. We have wood stove news, real simple, starting to see more pickup there, still having some trouble getting parts for ductless heat pump installations, I'm told from their vendors. Sounds like the control panels, the circuits needed are not there at the manufacturing facilities. So huge backlog of need for ductless heat pumps. And some of my other vendors in the wood stove hearth products stores especially said they're having trouble maintaining staffing. So that's part of the thing that's slowing us down. Is I know, for instance, one of our vendors, Capital City Stove, the owners are actually back out doing field work because they don't have enough installation and sales staff. So they're having to go out and do installations themselves. So on the media side of things, during that inversion or the air quality advisory, I spoke with all of our friends at the local TV and radio stations in our market. A lot of changes in the TV weather world, especially some movement, retirements, notably Q13 Weather, their longtime meteorologist, MJ McDermott, retired. They hired Abby Cohn from, I believe, Como or Cairo. And so then that set off a chain reaction of other people moving around. But the end result was I was able to talk to most of those weather folks over a period of a couple of weeks. And we're getting calls from them now when they want information about air quality and things like wood stove impacts and wood stove programs. So I think we were able to spin that air quality advisory to a benefit for us as far as getting some messaging out in the future. So that's really the big news. We are seeing an uptick in outdoor burning permits being issued, and with that comes more outdoor burning complaints for the compliance section, and I'm responding to those as well on phone calls and trying to get information out in people's hands so they can change behavior with education rather than compliance again. And that's all I've got for you, I think.
Thank you, Dan. Sorry, I'm getting texts because my day job office got ransacked last night. Sorry. Okay, let me keep us moving here. So we'll go to finance and administration from Lynn.
Good morning, all, and welcome, Robin, to a great network here. So I just have a few agenda items. Let's see. First of all, the fiscal year 2022 budget that we're in, which runs July 1 through June 30th, 7 months into the year ending January 31, we're on target with our revenues and we're on target with our expenditures. Every couple of months, I provide the detail to our finance committee, who then reports back to the full board with the detail information. A budget amendment is likely to occur in our fiscal year 22 budget. We did just receive some final numbers from our departing director on Friday, which will give us a better idea where our expenditures will be, and with our projections through June 30th. After we've completed that analysis, hopefully we can kind of give you a better, more official update at the March board meeting. And then in April, the finance committee meeting will be meeting to further discuss that amendment and then bringing that to the board. A brief update on the walk hairs. Everyone probably knows that the governor and the legislature approved the delay of the walk hairs. And so even though staff paid premiums, the majority of staff paid premiums in January, they will be receiving a reversal, a credit on their February payroll checks. So we're following the law. One of them was you refund that premium pretty quickly to your employees. And a wellness update. Our wellness committee is continuing to meet. We just sent all staff a survey to assist us with our planning for calendar year 2022. We all meet tomorrow. The committee, which consists of myself, Aaron Manley, and Ellie Feet of our compliance. So we'll be reporting. I'll be reporting to the finance committee in April on that as well. A brief update with some good statistics on participation and the type of activities. Wellness is so important right now. So keeping that in motion with staff and reminding them what is available to them with tools is always a plus. Dan had mentioned and provided you a update on the wood stove reduction program. Yes, things are slowing down, but the good thing is that's a 2-year contract we have with Ecology. And so we have the ability to move those funds into our next fiscal year 2023, because that contract takes us through actually June 2023. And I know that Jeff's going to be updating you on a number of things, probably including the CR that Fran touched on with the federal government. You know, it's been 3 times, I think, that the Congress has passed short-term spending with the federal budget that's, you know, started October 1. So we'll see what happens, and it'll be interesting to follow, as it always is, right? And you know, just a couple comments with clean air. Yeah, when we experience bad air, it just reminds us we really appreciate the good days when we have it. So, and I mean, that's a comment I just have to make. You know, when you're not feeling well, and you just appreciate the good days when you don't have the flu or the bad cold. But I just want to also extend, hey, Fran, thank you. You know, you turn mountains into molehills that make us better for us to travel and arrange. And, you know, here's just wishing you the best with that bottomless bucket list. So, and we want to hear all that's happening with that bucket. So to you, Fran, cheers. If there's any questions on any items, I'm happy to entertain.
Questions for Lynn. Lynn, I would just ask that, oh, go ahead, Robin.
I think most of them have been introduced in this meeting, but how many staff does ORCAA have?
16 total.
Cool. Just so I have a sense of the size of the organization. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a budget of $2.5 million and 16 full-time staff. Good question.
And Robin, for your benefit, just because you had to leave for a few minutes, the last 2 reports that I think you saw part of engineering, but then engineering and the air quality are going to be really key to kind of being primed for the onboarding meeting. So just so you know, you can watch it on the recording when you get a chance. Okay. Any questions, other questions for Lynn? Lynn, I was just going to ask that when you prepare budget ideas for the finance committee, can you run the scenario of ORCAA paying for the family leave, or sorry, the long-term care program like we do the family leave program? I know it is allowable, and I'd just like to at least look at the numbers. I don't know. We'll have to decide based on the impact, but so we don't have to adjust for that in our salary adjustments.
Right. So for the fiscal year 2023 budget, you want me to add that in, which
you and Jeff decide what you're going to bring as his draft budget, but at least show us the scenario.
Yes, we'll do.
Okay, cool. I without knowing the impact, I'm just speaking off the cuff at the moment. So, okay. It's nice that that's delayed until it can get fixed. So, okay, so we'll move to Executive Director Jeff.
Okay, great. Well, it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's exciting to be here sitting in this chair. A lot of responsibilities, and I'm really excited to be taking it on. As I also mentioned earlier, so today is day 7. So I've been spending my time really working with Fran, meeting with all of the managers that gave the reports earlier, and just really trying to get a better understanding of the agency, the work that we do, understanding the budget. So it's all, I think, going pretty well. It's been great being in the office, overhearing the phone calls coming in the technical assistance that our staff, compliance staff, are providing to folks, you know, whether it's around asbestos or wood smoke or other things. So it's been a great first 6.5 days so far. The focus in my first 30 days is really going to be to get to know the, you know, again, the agency. I mentioned I've met with all of the managers and Fran, and I'll be scheduling meetings with all of the other staff as well, just to get to know them, what they, you know, the challenges that they have, what they see for the agency, learn more about their work and them. So be working on that. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be reaching out to all of the board members to schedule something, get some time on your calendar. So Robin, in particular, looking forward to conversation with everybody. But with Robin, I know you're stepping into a new role. So you know, any questions that you have about the agency, can send you an org chart. You know, provide other information about the work that we do. And
That
so,
sounds great.
Great. So let's see, be doing that. I also mentioned, yeah, be thinking about boards or commissions or other entities that you all would like me to meet with, or me or others from ORCAA, to talk about the ORCAA mission going forward. Let's see, in terms of other priorities for me, actually Fran mentioned earlier that our IT lead, Nick, is leaving. So Nick is leaving at the end of, or on February 25th. And so Nick is, of course, he's our IT lead. He's what keeps does desktop support. He keeps our servers running. As was mentioned earlier, just in this virtual world, that's even more important with a lot of folks teleworking and things. And so Nick's departure is going to leave a big hole. I'm very excited for Nick. Nick has been with the agency for, I think he said last November, he had his 6th anniversary. And so this will be Nick's last board meeting. And so just want to thank Nick for all of the support that he's provided. I mean, the growth of the agency's IT network over the past 6 years, all of the things that that his work has enabled us to do. And so I don't know, again, just thank you, Nick. Really appreciate your work. You will be missed. So I don't know if anybody has anything they want to say here, but I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, Nick, thank you. Yeah, you know, just the work, I mean, just the last 2 years have been 10 years worth of work in your career, and your field is changing, you know, quite rapidly in this time. And so thanks for sticking with us and providing this support. And, you know, good luck in your next venture. I should say live long and prosper to you. You know, we'll be looking out for where you go, what you're up to. Do you want to tell us anything about what's next for you, or say anything?
Hey guys. So first and foremost, I just wanted to extend a thank you to both Fran and Jeff. Fran, the opportunity to work for both you and the board and ORCAA has been life-changing, to say the least. I came here fresh out of school, and I'm leaving with something that I could not get anywhere else. So to both you, Fran, and everyone else here, I'm eternally grateful for that. I'm going to lock clean water lines next month, and I'm excited and sad at the same time, both to be leaving the people here and all you guys behind, and excited to start a new chapter there. So you guys have my number. If you need anything, you know where to find me. I'm always here to help.
Staying in the mission, though, that's great. Good to hear. Thank you for everything, Nick. Anyone else have comments? Lots of thumbs up and nods. Vulcan salutes. Yeah.
Great. Well, along the lines of what Nick said, and he's been very generous. He'll be working. Well, he's been working close with me and others at ORCAA to ensure that we've got a smooth transition, and that, of course, there will be a bit of a gap between when Nick departs in a couple weeks and when we're able to bring somebody on, but Nick is ready to step in and help us cover that gap as we need. So I really appreciate Nick being willing to do that and his approach. And certainly I'm sleeping better at night knowing that ORCAA is well taken care of in this area. So again, one of my priorities is working to get somebody on, a new person on board as quickly as possible. One thing that became quickly apparent to me as looking at the duties that Nick has done, and again, coming from the state, familiar with some of the other compensation. So I've been working with Lynn, so we're actually I'm adjusting the compensation for this position to, I think, adequately match what a similar position would be required or would pay for the state, just to ensure that we get a good candidate pool. Because again, this position is critical. ORCAA's IT systems are so important to what we do. The position has been posted. The initial closing, then it will be starting reviewing applications after February 25th, and then I'm going to be working to putting together a hiring panel and working to fill it as quickly as possible. But again, that's been another top priority. Let's see, and along those lines, in terms of salary, as I think the board has talked about in the past, but thanks, Jim, for putting that in there. And so I'd ask that you all pass that on to any of your network, or if you know folks who might be interested and qualified, please have them reach out if they're with an application, or reach out to me or to Dan if they have any questions about the position. So again, I'd like to get a really good candidate pool for this position. But on the topic of salary, I know the idea of doing a salary survey has been discussed by the board, and that's something that I've been talking with Fran and with Lynn about, and so we're putting our thoughts together, and we'll likely be including that in the fiscal 2023 budget, because it's been a number of years since the agency has done a salary survey. So again, and we've heard a lot about what a great ORCAA staff we have, what a great team, and how critical that is to the work that we do. Well, clearly having competitive compensation is an important part of that. So okay, next I was going to move to just a quick, Fran suggested that I talk a little bit about the legislative session, but is there any, before moving to that, are there any other sort of questions about Nick's departure or hiring? Not hearing anything?
Nothing.
Then let me jump in. So again, I haven't, with all these other things I'm working on, I haven't been tracking as closely as I might have liked. But just let folks know that, of course, this year is a supplemental session. So it's a 60-day session. We're I think just over 30 days through it. There were some important cutoffs last week. I think last Friday, what was the date, or last Thursday was date to be voted out of policy committee, and then this past Monday was to be voted out of fiscal committee. So a lot of things are dying, have died, but there are a number of things that are continuing to move forward. Lynn already mentioned House Bill 1732, which was around Washington Cares. So that has already been signed by the governor, been delayed. Other things that are potentially of interest to the agency and that kind of keeping an eye on. Senate Bill 5908 creates a clean car authority, which will be to issue grants to government agencies, perhaps among others, working to electrify their fleets. And so that's something kind of following to see. Of course, ORCAA maintains a fleet of vehicles. Some of our vehicles are ready to be replaced. Would certainly like to be able to look at options around electric vehicles as we're replacing. So kind of, again, keeping an eye on that piece of legislation. There's also been a number of biochar related legislation, including Senate Bill 5961, which incentivizes the use of biochar in government contracts. So, and in fact, those locally, read the Olympian, probably noticed the front page of the Olympian, an article about a biochar facility up in Bellingham. So this is something that I'm not exactly sure where the legislation is going to go, but clearly there's interest, and we'll be talking and we'll be hearing more about this, about biochar going forward. Another piece, House Bill 1682 is a piece of ecology request legislation that relates to the cap and trade legislation that was passed last year. And it provides specific compliance pathways to what are called trade exposed businesses. So it potentially provides additional funding to help, and other things to, again, these trade exposed businesses. And there's a long list of industries in the bill. But it certainly includes wood products, includes pulp and paper, and a number of industrial categories that are regulated by ORCAA. And so we'll certainly be watching that. Essentially what it requires ecology to develop a rule, I think by middle of 2022, that talks about how these source categories will be treated under the cap and trade legislation that passed last year. So those are the things that I've kind of been keeping my eye on. And that's what I have on the legislative front. Is there any sort of questions or any conversation about any of those, or any yeah.
Questions for Jeff? Okay, good stuff.
All right, well, I think that's what I had for my executive report. Unless, again, happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Anybody has any?
Not seeing any, so I'm just gonna.
Sorry, Jeff,
oh,
could
go
you
ahead,
repeat
Dan. Greg.
The Senate bill for that biochar initiative? I'm finding the wrong one for some reason.
Okay, what I have in my notes is 5961.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think there was at least one other, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So I'm gonna lift up Dan's chat comment. Dan, why don't you read it for us or say it?
So yeah, I forgot to mention that my typical 10-second elevator pitch when we talk about the importance of clean air, it's the rule of threes. The average human can survive up to 30 days without food, 3 days without water, but only 3 minutes without air. So that it's a pretty important part of our life, and having it clean and healthful is vital to keeping us healthy.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, so at this point, have a quick opportunity for good of the order. Anything for the good of the order before we move on to executive session? Okay, hearing none. So we're pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, as allowed by state law, we'll go into executive session to discuss current, pending, or future litigation. And we will be there for no more than 10 minutes, and we will adjourn from executive session. So at this point, I'm going to ask everyone except for Jeff Johnston, Jeff Myers, Fran, and I'm guessing Robert. Is there any other staff that needs to be involved in this?
Yeah, I've asked Mark Gooden.
Mark, okay.
In the room with me here.
Great. So all other staff, if you can leave the meeting, and Nick will turn off the recording and then make me the host.